Hi, welcome back. So I'm starting a new campaign really shortly, and I always find the process of creating that world in which the players inhabit tremendously exciting and interesting. I always try and go out of my way to make the world something a bit different, a bit strange. So I've come up with an idea, and I'm going to take you through it. I've created a bunch of random tables for myself to help me procedurally build my campaign. So we're going to create the basics of the map, and we're going to work the world out from that. Let's go into the first person mode and we'll get crack-a-lackin'. A map is a great visual that helps you build that narrative as you go along. And the other thing I've done is I've created a series of random tables for the setting, and I'll go through what it is in a moment. As I'm going through, I'm going to roll on the tables and I'm going to generate the world as we do. When they're prepping for GM stuff and you are using random tables, sometimes it just doesn't make sense or it doesn't quite fit the vibe that you want to go to. And I think this is often the secret source of a lot of the procedurally generated stuff that we create. You have executive override. And as the GM, you can step in and say, no, I'm changing that to something more bespoke so it makes better sense. Now this setting, I'm calling it web rail. So web, W-E-B, rail, as in a spider web and a rail line. And the idea is that we have had a great void of nothingness. And then spontaneously, a million worlds are fragmented and scattered into this abyss as floating islands, floating fragments of worlds within this void of nothingness. And for the longest time, all these people on these separate floating islands, just if they had enough resources, they thrived or lived on their own, and if they didn't, they kind of just diminished, fell into barbarism and war, or starved to death. But the important point is that the spiders appear. And the spiders are seen as like gods. These are like grand Godzilla-like spiders that have spun a web across every single island in the abyss. And it has allowed people to cross from island to island. And as time has gone on and people developed new technology, trains have appeared. So these aren't the sort of locomotives that we think of nowadays, but think Snowpiercer or cross between the great moving cities of mortal engines, like London on wheels travelling. So this setting is a cross between the Grand Floating Island trope, Snowpiercer, and I guess we've got a little bit of eldritch horror thrown in as well. It should make for a really diverse setting. Anyway, so I'm going to put up the tables as we go along. So the first thing that we want to do is to create the centerpiece of our sector, because we're only going to draw a small part of this, and maybe the characters as they play are going to move somewhere else. So we are going to roll to see the size of this fragment. I want the first fragment to be either a country size or a continent size. So usually I roll 1 to 6, but I'm going to roll, so 1 to 3, it's a country, 4 to 6, it's a continent. So it's going to be country size. And we're going to start just drawing it over here. And the next thing we're going to do is to work out what the environments of this island, what this fragment are. So number 1, 11, that tells me it's elementally touched. So it's been interacted with by one of the elemental planes. Number 2, that's going to be air. Okay, that means perhaps we've got like a high mountainous region with blowing air. So I'll just draw some mountains on here. Since it is continent size, country size, we're going to roll on it 3 times. So 13. So this one's going to be like a weird, surreal landscape. I'm going to roll on that again, so number 4. So we've got floating landscape, if there are settlements on this place, are floating above the ground. So I'm just going to put like a little bit like that just to show it's floating. Okay, let's do one last bit to see. So we've got like a fairly magical island going on here, a weird fragment. We'll do one last time, so 19. So the last section of it, or covering most of it, is ruins. So maybe before this was banished to the void, this was a great and rich society. So we want to see how many links it's got to the outside world. So how many webs are coming off this. So let's roll. Only 1 or 2. So this means perhaps this is, for some reason, people definitely didn't come to this. So we're going to do 2 smaller islands coming off this in just a moment. And lastly, we want to see what bizarre features we can find on this one. So we are going to roll 1, so that's 11, and 6. So in this one, there is just endless tunnels, perhaps in the mountains themselves. And these themselves, these tunnels, will going to lead to crystal caves. Okay, so that's our first one. So let's generate a few smaller islands around that. These are mostly going to be, if I roll another country size or a continent size one, I'm going to re-roll it. So first of all, got one, let's say we've got a village size. So, ooh, that's probably even too big for a village size. No, that'll be fine. So I'm going to re-roll that one. So we could have one that's the size of a county, so about half the size of that. And we've got another one that's another county, so I'm going to put that one there. And one last one, city size one. We're going to put there. Okay, so this is its immediate neighbours. I'm going to quickly generate what we get on here. So essentially, the smaller the island, the fewer the biomes, and the fewer features that are on there. So this one here, which is a really small island, is going to have actually a possibility of nothing being there. Before we go on, we want to see if this one has actually got any permanent settlements on it. Because it's a country size, there is a 7 and 10, so 1 to 7 it is. It is not. So this is actually abandoned for whatever reason. And the last thing I've got is like a little chart just to like describe the vibes that we find on the island. What is the general vibe? So it's a serene, abandoned place. But you have to ask the question, why is it abandoned? Probably because under all of that serenity, there is something truly horrific hiding in here. I'm going to start populating these islands, and then we'll cut back to it and I'll quickly explain what we've created. So after a few minutes of doing that, I've filled out the other fragments that the party can find themselves on. I've made a few executive decisions as to the way the roles came out, but a lot of these fell exactly as it is. So it seems that the narrative of this area, we've got our 3 large islands that surrounds the central fragment that is abandoned, full of these crystal caves and endless ruins. The environment of here came out as like full of necromantic power of ruins. So that legitimately rolled ruins again. This one is swamp filled with ruins, and this one's sort of like an icy tundra filled with ruins. And this one also is uninhabited. This is like a volcanic island with like petrified forest. I've decided literally forests of stone trees. So the only one that's actually inhabited is this one here. And as I was rolling its features of the island, it came out as like, I got a fey forest. And then we do have a settlement here. So perhaps the settlement here is right in the middle of the fey forest. And I pushed it, fighting back the corruption that's happened on these other islands. And each of these islands I've either rolled crystal caves or tunnels. So perhaps it's the crystals themselves that has corrupted this area. And this is the only island where people have settled. Perhaps there was an ancient fey forest here, and they are slowly but surely either losing or winning the fight against the corruption coming from this central island. So this one here, that could go off to another sector, but let's add on our next big island or next big junction. So again, I'm going to roll 1d6. So 2, that's like a town size one. So that's like this big. And we're going to see what feature the environment has. So that's a 9. So that's savanna. Almost tropical, not quite. How many web links it's already got? So it's already got 2. So 5. We've actually got a few. So perhaps this could be like a, if we have that going up towards that way as well. So this could be a junction. Okay, does it have any strange features? So there's actually a 50% chance, because it's so small, it's only a 50% chance if it's got a small strange feature. So 4 plus, yeah. What is that? 14. got a great tower. It could be like a lighthouse for trains traveling across the web rail in the dark. So this could be, and perhaps it could be a lookout looking over this dangerous area. Let's say it is inhabited, but this here, our habitated area, is basically a great junction, or it's a station. So let's do the island up here, and I'm going to generate a few more islands. So let's see what we got. So first of all, oh, that's a massive one. So I'm going to do that. So this is a constant size island. Let's give me a few minutes and see what we come up with. I'm almost done here. I've just got to do these last bits down the bottom. I think I'm going to do these ones here as a single thing, because when I was rolling up, the sides of the islands here, I was keep on rolling ones and twos. So I think it makes sense that this is like they're linked together somehow. Our big continent size fragment here. So it's separated into, three biomes. We've got volcanic mountains, a savanna, and a rainforest. When I was rolling up interesting locations on here, we came up with a druidic grove, which made sense to put that in the rainforest. A ruined city, again, you put that in the rainforest. The rainforest has kind of consumed it. So kind of like the old Mayan ruins that they found in South America. And I also rolled, there was an eldritch abomination here somewhere. So it makes sense that it's dwelling within the ruins of there. Definitely loads of settlements here. And I rolled that the people of these settlements tend to be honourable people, and they're exporting things like exotic pets, building materials, and ores and metals. Over here we've got a mountainous region here, and I rolled there's a giant statue, a grand obelisk. So I'm thinking maybe they've carved a figure into the mountain itself. It mainly exports foods and furs, so I'm thinking mountain goats. There's a species of mountain goat here that's particularly prized for its food and its fur. And then this island here is sort of like a mix of forest and fungal forests. Interesting feature was a necropolis, and perhaps it makes sense that there was a grand old necropolis here for the dead. Fungus has grown up over it and maybe animated the dead. Friendly fungus people here, friendly mushroom people here, but they happen to be built around like an old dead necropolis. And looks like this is going to be where the main mages study, because they export, I put arcane grimoires and like reagents. So we've got lots of fungus there, lots of forest there to collect arcane agents. And then on this island here, frozen tundra with lots of mountains, with a mammoth graveyard. So perhaps the people here are quite hardy, it's like Norse sorts, who export spices and alcohol. Let's find out what we get for these last ones here. Anyway, so the last few bits, so these islands, I rolled these with deserts, with lots of a hostile environment with terrible, dangerous ruins. And then this island down here was basically like has lots of elemental plane of water, so a great lake full of undines, which are probably potentially either friendly or like considered dangerous wild animals. And I rolled on here that it's got like an old spider web, perhaps like a diving bell spider, so a web that's half submerged, and another old ruin. And then finally their exports would be, and I made an executive decision to make their like arcane exports, this water, this arcane water, so we'll work out what that does, and train works. So this is perhaps where people are making the trains or parts of the trains to be exported or used on the web rail itself. Okay, so I hope you find it interesting. I am going to create a link to the tables I've used throughout this, and I'm going to draw this up in ink, and I'm going to see if I can link this as well, probably as a scanned image. So thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye.